Hey everybody, my name is Pat Cohan, and this is the DHS ADA Director's Cut. In preparation for the Spring Sponsor Showcase coming up on March 3rd and 4th at the Margaritaville Lake Conroe, Houston, we're sharing 6 snippets from the 2024 Spring Sponsor Showcase. These quick snippets include topics like, what is the best piece of advice you give young ADs? What do you do when coaches don't feel supported? When to email, when to call, when to schedule a meeting? When has it been smart to be patient? What can and cannot be enforced from your code of conduct? And what question do you ask each interviewee and why? Now, before we dive into these topics, we do want to let you know that the early registration for the Spring Sponsor Showcase closes on February 14th. So make sure you go to thsada.com and register today. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this THS ADA Director's Cut.
Not many issues get resolved through email. Y'all know that. So if it's a problem or if there's a point of contention, that needs to at least be a phone call. And if it's something serious, it probably needs to be a face-to-face meeting. Email is great for disseminating information, right? But not the best for trying to solve a problem or address a concern. So talk to your coaches, especially your young ones, about that. And another thing is just the tone that they use in emails. I can remember a coach showing me an email that they had written to a parent and asked me to review it and said, "Coach, what do you think about this?" And I read it and it was not good. It was very negative, attacking, and defensive. And I said, "Coach, what's your goal with this email?" And she was like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Do you want the parent to be on your side? Do you want to partner with them and both of you work together to do what's best for their kid? Or you want them to be upset with you?" And she said, "Well, I want them to partner." I said, "Well, do you think that email accomplishes that?" And she's like, "Nope." And she went back and rewrote it. So trying to keep that in mind when they're writing their emails, I think is super important.
What interview question do you ask each interviewee and why?
When I think about interview questions, I think one of the things that's really good is you need to ask people scenarios and get them to talk through scenarios. One quick tidbit about interviewing: everybody in the room there's always an elephant in the room about you in reference to whether you can do the job or not. And so in lieu of sharing a specific question that I ask every time to every interviewee, one of the things that I think is really important is for you to address the elephant in the room, whatever that elephant in the room is. So many people try to brush the elephant in the room under the rug and not talk about it. And so what happens is the interview panel then devises their own thoughts or ideas about what the elephant in the room is. And you can dispel the elephant in the room or flip the elephant in the room as to why it's really not an elephant in the room.
Did you have a situation where it paid off to be patient rather than respond with a knee-jerk reaction?
I think in today's day and world, it's quick. They want quick responses, and it's easy to get caught up in an email war or a social media war. Sometimes you just need to step back, think it through, and get others involved. And what I mean by that is coaches want to have input, and they think that you come to a meeting and the decision's already been made. That's not always, the way to go. Get them involved, give them a sense of responsibility so that if something does happen, hey, we're all in this together. It wasn't just me. It's not just your way. Give them that opportunity to have input, to help guide, maybe resolve the situation. So step back. 24-hour rule is always good. And sometimes just picking up the phone and making that phone call instead of getting caught up in social media and that email war going back and forth.
Describe the technique you would use when a head coach approaches you and registers his or her concern that you, as an AD, are not supporting his or her program as well as he or she thinks.
If someone would come to me with that complaint, I'd say, well, I certainly would listen to everything they have to say. I have no issue listening. And then I would offer, well, what solution would you come up with that I needed to do if you were me? Maybe put it back on him or her as to what was their biggest issue. And then we would talk about it, and we would come to a union. And if I really was not doing the right thing, I would fix myself, because that's not the right thing to do.
What is the best piece of advice you could give to someone starting their first year as an AD?
So my best advice is that you help coaches in a way that they can help kids, because you're going to miss your relationship with kids. That's why you were a coach. But you're going to love your relationships with the people that are now growing the next generation of kids, and hopefully to become coaches and teachers, because we need those. But my advice to you is to continue to build that village of people, continue to build that trust in those relationships, because it will be who you turn to when you need something.
There's a big difference between what you write in your athletic code of conduct as an aspirational goal rather than the type of things for which students would be subject to discipline. As far as an aspirational goal, calling on the students to be good role models, to express respect for fellow players, for opponents, for referees, all of that, that's absolutely important and should be included. But in terms of taking disciplinary action, let's be sure that we tie it in some way to the legitimate interest of the school. Harassment, bullying, threats of other kids or referees, certainly officials, coaches, all of that's legitimate interest of the school. But trying to make sure they're always a good citizen at the pizza parlor on a Saturday night, that they're not doing something that is stupid 15-year-old behavior while they're wearing their school letter jacket, that may be a little more difficult. You know, your authority over off-campus conduct is diminished. But don't ask parents to waive rights in order to participate in extracurricular activities. Parents, their kids, they have right of free speech. They have all of that, so we don't want to ask for waiving of that. Vague prohibitions such as don't criticize, don't be negative, going to be difficult to base disciplinary decisions on that. Actions or words that, if you can show that what the student did seriously undermines team cohesion or team discipline, that's a different story. But we have to be prepared to make those distinctions.